Hi guys, we are doing Unit 5 today, compound sentences, and a lot of the stuff we'll be discussing today you've heard before, so it's a little bit of a repeat, but we're of course going to build on that. If you think about it, grammar is very much like math where we have these little bits and pieces, and once you understand things like independent clause, dependent clause, phrase, all of those types of things, then you can start adding them together and creating these really sophisticated sentences that will enhance your writing. So here we have an independent clause, which we've talked about before, a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. And an independent clause can stand alone as a sentence. It's a sentence all by itself. So we've seen this example before. Steve excels in the classroom. And remember before how we wrote that this is a simple sentence. We want to write it again just so you can trick your brain into remembering it. So write it down on your packet. And then we have the independent clause as part of the sentence. We saw this because he studies regularly, that dependent clause. And then Steve excels in the classroom, independent clause. We have a complex sentence. And remember we wrote it like this, dependent clause, comma, independent clause, period. And then the simple sentence is simply the independent clause, period. Then we have what we're discussing here in this unit. Two independent clauses joined together for a compound sentence. Steve is not a great athlete, complete sentence. He excels in the classroom. Complete sentence, and it's joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So this is our compound sentence, and that is independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, independent clause. So let's talk a little bit more about what that coordinating conjunction is. We have an acronym, just like a WOOBIS with our dependent clauses. We have FANBOYS, which is an acronym that represents the 7 coordinating conjunctions. For, and, nor, but, or, yet. So make sure you highlight those on your packet. These are nice because there are only 7. There are no more, so we don't have to worry about that. When you have 2 independent clauses, you need to join them together with a comma and one of the fanboy words. So we have it here. I'd love to go to the dance with you, comma, but I'm going to be in Colorado. Or Joe will be on time tomorrow, comma, or he will be fired. So we have that comma, but, and comma, or. We must have to have the comma with the coordinating conjunction or else you create an error. But maybe you don't want to use these fanboy words. There's one more type of compound sentence. Instead of using this IC, comma, CC, IC, we can use a semicolon. Or, in case you're not sure what that is, it is the winky face. I know. So a semicolon can be used to join 2 sentences, and you can use a semicolon by itself or with a transition word, and they're going to give you a list of some transition words here to use. So we have an example. The editor puts together the newsletter, semicolon. The publisher distributes it, period. 2 separate sentences joined by a semicolon. We could say the editor puts together the newspaper, comma, and the publisher distributes it. But instead we decided to use a semicolon here. Again, that's very stylistic choice. There's not a right or a wrong, but I encourage students to use a semicolon in their writing. It shows that you have command over grammatical punctuation, and it shows the reader that you know what you're doing. It creates that ethos or credibility as a writer. Here we're going to use a transition word in addition to the semicolon. I'd love to go to the dance with you, semicolon, transition word, unfortunately, comma, I'm going to be in Colorado. So here we have that transition word, semicolon before, comma after. This is one of the most mispunctuated sentence types that I see students use. So you need to make sure that you have a complete sentence here and a complete sentence here in order to do it. Sometimes transition words like however can be used as interrupters. So you need to make sure you have sentences on either side in order for you to use the semicolon properly. So here we're going to put brackets around the independent clauses in the following compound sentences, label our subjects and verbs in each clause, and we are going to not highlight the fanboys. So we have fans of the Detroit Tigers dislike the Chicago White Sox. Fans are my subject. What are fans doing? They dislike, my verb, the Chicago White Sox. Great. This is my independent clause. So I'm going to put brackets around it. Then I have comma but, my coordinating conjunction, they, new subject, hate, verb, the New York Yankees. Because who doesn't hate the Yankees, really? Let's be honest. Okay, Second one, Lisa will turn in her paper. Lisa is my subject, will turn in my verb. So I have my complete sentence, Lisa will turn in her paper. Comma, or she, new subject, will not receive is my verb. Credit for the semester. Number 3, Gary manages, subject verb, day-to-day operations. Andrea handles marketing. Andrea is my subject. What is she doing? She handles. Sorry about the bell. Number 4, the team is better. This one's a little harder because it has that state of being verb. The team is my subject. What is it? Is. Is your verb. It is better. It's the state of being. So this is a complete sentence. The team is better. Still, so that's my transition word. It remains in last place. Remains is my verb. So I didn't do it here, but please make sure you are putting your subject and your verb. That's going to help you later on when you're identifying your own subject and verbs in your sentences, which is much harder than doing these. Okay, I want to point out one thing to you as you go on. Same thing as we've done before, filling in the blanks from previously. They're going to ask you to, of course, write a compound sentence using those fanboy words that they give you there. And I always encourage students, many students like to use and but. So those are kind of the ones that we use all the time. I would really encourage you to try to use some words that you don't typically use. Use for, nor, yet. Those are words that I think most students don't use. We want to start adding those to our vocabulary. And then here you're going to have a semicolon. And then this one here on the second page here, I think this is 5.2. Yes, 5.2. They give you a list of transition words here. So please, again, make sure that you're using something that you don't typically use. I see a lot of students use however, but I don't see a lot of students use like consequently or similarly. So again, try to use a word that you wouldn't typically use to try to add that to your vocabulary as you're practicing. Okay, so go through Unit 5 here, and then of course check your answers in the answer key. I'll see you guys for Unit 6.